ACCA undertook a study which we had 19,000 respondents from young people around the world, including here in West Africa, and an amazing 80% plus of them, both male and female, said that they wanted their next move to be to set up their own business, to start their own business. And they very much saw entrepreneurship and that being in charge of their own destiny as what it was they wanted to achieve. In Nigeria, that was 95% of respondents who said that they saw setting up their own business as what they wanted to do next. So really powerful data that shows that I think the mindset of the next generation of business leaders has shifted. It's not a job for life in one organisation, but they do see having that foundation of an ACCA qualification, being a finance professional, as enabling them to go into their own business and set up their own and be in charge of their own destiny. You're right that large organisations are not going to be able to absorb the numbers of the population who are going to want employment. So there are going to have to be these different avenues. And for a very long time, SMEs have been the engine room of economies. Economies all over the world, developed and developing. But we need to give people the wherewithal to make those SMEs sustainable. They have to have that financial understanding and capability that's going to ensure that the failure rate of SMEs reduces. That's one of the big issues that we face, that SMEs fail quite early on. So there's a lot to be done, but the young finance professionals are certainly up for it and very enthusiastic about that future dynamic.
Right. Let's talk a bit about the value of that financial education. Because whatever you do, one gets a sense that you need to understand finance to some extent. As a CEO, as a professional, it will come and hit you at some point if you want to grow as a professional. So can you just speak to that point and the value
we see many, for example, engineers taking finance qualifications, many marketeers taking finance qualifications. As you say, at some time you need to put it all together, and if you're the language of business is finance. You have to understand how you're going to perform, how you're going to fund your development, how you're going to pay your employees. They're very basic things. So I think bringing that all together always helps. And we see financial literacy at the very basic level, whether that's at school level, as something that we really need to put more focus on in education at an early stage. Even running your own personal bank account can give you the kind of discipline that you need for later in life when you're in a business environment. But we don't put much focus on that in the education system. ACCA has created a product called ACCA X, which is totally free online learning of the very fundamentals of both financial accounting and management accounting. And we've seen thousands and thousands of people taking that up all around the world, a digital online experience. And I do think the digital environment gives us a great opportunity to increase access to financial literacy, and then later, of course, increase the ability for engineers, marketeers, whatever, to take the full professional qualifications that are going to make them business leaders.
Right. I think it's a great point you're making. Beyond, those who aspire to have the ACCA certification and so forth, the opportunity for everyone to learn finance, I think, is really important.
It's much wider than that.
Right. And let's talk a bit about, the contribution that the ACCA is making in that respect in a place like Nigeria and West Africa. I know you're on this trip to Nigeria.
Well, it's been great talking to our members. I'm here in Nigeria at the moment, we have over 2,000 members, 9,000 students. Last night we celebrated our new members in Nigeria, over 300 last year, which is fantastic. And all of them want to make a contribution. I think that's the point. It's about making a contribution to the economy, to the businesses and societies they work in. We believe that a strong accountancy profession contributes to sustainable economic development, and we deliver public value by ensuring that we're working in the public interest, that we are promoting ethical business practices, and that we're supporting sustainable economic development. So if the profession can do that, we can do that through our members and students, then I believe that that public value will be felt by countries across West Africa.
All right, and let's talk a bit about this young generation and what do you anticipate, especially in a place like Nigeria. A lot has been said about the entrepreneurial spirit here, and some of the data that you shared about what your report reveals also confirms that. So can you just speak to the evolution of a young finance professional that you're seeing in a place like Nigeria?
Well, not only are they entrepreneurial, they're ambitious. So again, the young generation that we interviewed in Nigeria, they want to be the CFOs, they want to be the CEOs, they want to use that foundation of a qualification to be leaders. And that's very much needed, isn't it? Business leaders with ethical practices at the heart of their qualification. Of course, professional accountants must abide by a code of ethics throughout their professional career. And I think, the public very much demands that now. They're looking for not only business to be done, but for business to be done right. And I think finance professionals want to provide that ethical compass, really, for the business and ensure that it is serving the public in the best possible way.
If you can, compare the value of, a finance certification like ACCA and perhaps maybe business education. Even though many will argue that there is that education, finance education embedded in business education. But I just want to get your thoughts. You just mentioned a few points about ethics, that perhaps that could give
well, I think that, obviously there's very important learning through business education and other types of qualifications. What's different about a professional qualification is that professional code and a lifelong commitment to adherence to the code of ethics. So it's not a one-off. You have to have continuous professional development once you've qualified, got the letters after your name. It is mandatory to keep learning, to stay relevant, because that is the promise that we make to the public. And the public has redress. So if a professional accountant does not abide by a code of ethics, a complaint can be made, we investigate, and ultimately we can remove that membership from the individual who has not abided by the code of ethics. So that gives surety, and it's part of that public value and public interest promise that the profession will abide to that code. So I think it is different. It's about being part of a professional community and having to give back to the societies where our members work.